Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very last section in Chapter 10, Section 10.6, Trigonomic Ratios, Part 2. Here we are going to be asked to solve the right triangle, and then we're going to round each side length to the nearest tenth. When we are asked to solve the right triangle, that means that we have to find all the missing angles. So this angle, for example, we do not know, and A and C as well. When we are asked to do this, my first thought is always to find the angle first. So we are going to find angle A. We're looking for this angle right here. Well, first things first, how many degrees are in a triangle? 180 degrees are going to be in a triangle. Will always be in a triangle. So we have 180. Now what do we already have? We have 41 from this angle here. So it's minus 41. What does this little box mean? It means it's a right triangle, yes. How many degrees are in that angle? There are 90 degrees in that angle. So we can also subtract 90. So we come up with 49 degrees. So how many degrees are in angle A? 49 degrees for angle A. So I'm going to put that right here just so we know. 49 degrees. Now, since we have that, we need to find angle or side A and side C. But we have to use what? We don't know what we have to use. But first thing we can do is pick what angle we want to use. You cannot, I repeat, you cannot pick angle C, but you can pick angle B or angle A. And since I found what the degree was in angle A, I'm going to stick with angle A. Now, we have to find angle or side A, which is across from angle A. Also, I want to use adjacent, and why do I want to use adjacent? Because I know what 6 is. I do not know what C is, so it doesn't make sense for me to use A and C, but it does make sense for me to use a number I do know. So now, again, from angle A, I would be looking for opposite, right? I would be looking for opposite, and I would be looking for adjacent. So what gives me opposite and adjacent? Well, opposite and adjacent is tangent. So how do we go about this? We go tangent of angle A. Well, what is angle A? 49 degrees. So it's tan 49, and that equals opposite, which is A, over, and then what was your adjacent? Remember, it can't be C because C is the hypotenuse, so it's over 6. Now, with your calculator, find out what tan of 49 is. Tan of 49 turns into 1.150, and that's going to equal the same thing right here, A over 6. Now, I know it looks tough. We don't know what to do with this, but what if I put this all over 1? How could we solve that? Remember how to cross multiply? Well, we would have 1 times A, which would give us A, and then this guy, 1.150 times that, to give me 6.9. So side A equals 6.9. Now, for side C, now we have both sides, so it really doesn't matter what sides we pick, but we have to include side C because we need to find side C. So I'm going to stay with angle A again, and with angle A, I need to include the hypotenuse, and I could include the opposite or the adjacent. Well, since we were given the adjacent, I'm going to stick with the adjacent. So that leaves me with, I'm going to use adjacent and hypotenuse. Which one gives me adjacent and hypotenuse? Cosine does. So cosine of angle A, which is 49 degrees, that's going to give me cosine is adjacent, which is 6, over, and then C, because it's a hypotenuse. Very first thing we do, find out what cosine of 49 is. Well, that's going to be 0.6561, and that's going to equal 6 over c, right? This looks a little bit messy, right? But we put that over 1, and what do you think we can do with that? We're going to cross multiply it. So we have 6 equals, and then here times there is going to be 0.6561 c. How do I get c by itself? I need to divide by 0.6561 and divide over here by 0.6561. C now is going to equal 9.1. So we have, and that's a point right there, we have just solved the triangle. We found C, which is 9.1. We found side A, which is 6.9, and we found angle A, which is 49 degrees. Now let's try another one. We're going to solve this triangle, but instead of little a and little b, we're just going to have sides. So I, again, like to start off with angles. So let's find the measure of angle B. Angle B, again, triangles have 180 degrees. What is given to us? 35, so I'm going to subtract 35. What does this red square mean right here, or half a square mean? That means that is 90 degrees. So I'm going to subtract 35 and 90. And angle B now is 55 degrees. So this angle B is 55 degrees. Now I'm looking for side BC. This side right here, this means line segment BC. Well, I'm just going to call this for right now X. I need to find X. I'm going to use angle B to find that side X. So if I use angle B, that X is going to be adjacent. And what other number do we know? We know the hypotenuse. So what gives me adjacent and hypotenuse? Well, cosine is going to give me adjacent and hypotenuse. So I'm going to say cosine of 55 is going to equal, cosine is adjacent, which is X, which is the side we are looking for, which is a good thing, over the hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is 7. Now you did all the hard work to find all your numbers. Well, let's take the cosine of 55. Cosine of 55 is 0.5736. That's going to equal X over 7. What do we do? Put that over 1 and cross multiply. We have 1 times X. So X, we're going to get X right away, is the same thing as that times 7, which is 4.0. So now X is 4.0. So now this is 4. One more side we have to find, and that is AC. AC is from A to C, right? I'm just going to label that Y to make things a little bit simpler. I'm going to stick with my same angle B. Now we have opposite, and we were given the hypotenuse, so I'm going to use the hypotenuse. You could use 4. By all means, you could use 4. Here we go. What gives us the opposite and hypotenuse? That is going to be sine. So I'm going to take sine of 55 equals opposite, which is Y over 7. The sine of 55 is 0.8192 equals Y over 7. Put it over 1, cross multiply. We have 1 times Y, which is Y. That's going to equal 0.8192 times 7, which is 5.734, and we were just asked for the nearest tenth, so it's Y equals 5.7 for your side. Now, ladies and gentlemen, is there a way to check your work? Yes, there is. We could just use all the sides. We could use the Pythagorean theorem, right? 4 squared plus 5.7 squared should equal 7 squared. And if you want to check it, go ahead and check it, but I promise you it will work out. Now, for last two problems. Now we are asked to find the measurement of angle P to the nearest degree. So first we have to find angle P. Well, there's angle P. Before we did it by subtracting, right? We had 180 and we subtracted, oh wait a second, we do not have angle R. So since we do not have the two other degrees, we cannot find out what P is. So we have to actually use inverse trigonomic functions. We are given from angle P, we are given the adjacent side and the hypotenuse. So what is the adjacent and the hypotenuse? That would be cosine, correct? Now I'm going to say cosine of P. That's going to equal, cosine is adjacent, which is 22, over 24, which is the hypotenuse. Now, how do we undo cosine? We are going to undo cosine by, on your calculator, there is a cosine to the negative first, or some sort of cosine button that is going to undo the cosine, and that's usually found by hitting second and then your cosine button on your calculator. So what you type into your calculator is cosine to the negative first, and then what you do to one side you have to do to the other side. And so you type that right in, and if you have troubles finding your inverse cosine button, I'll help you out with it. And so when you type it in, you are actually going to get a measurement to find the degrees. Type that into your calculator, and we come up with 23.6 degrees for your angle P. Let's try another one. Now, again, we're finding measurement of angle P. We are given 15 and 10. We are given what? The adjacent side and the opposite side. So what gives us adjacent and opposite? Adjacent and opposite is going to be tangent. So now, instead of taking cosine or sine, I'm going to take tangent of angle P. That's going to equal, tangent is opposite is 10, over the adjacent, which is 15. You also have the inverse of a tangent button, so you go ahead and take the inverse here and there, which looks something like that on your calculator. It's more than likely going to be second tangent. So real quickly you would type it in. Tan inverse of 10/15 is going to be 33.7, and that is a degree measurement. And what is that? That is angle P. And that does it for section 10.6 Trigonometric Ratios Part 2. Good day.